I think you got to be humble in this profession because the moment you're not, it'll humble you. And I think being humble means not being meek and mild, but being willing to learn, like you said, willing to fail.
Welcome back to First Down presented by CoachTools. I'm your host, Justin Tichenel. Please feel free to leave this a 5-star review. It's super helpful for us as we continue to grow the podcast. And also be sure to subscribe so you never miss another episode. Today's episode featured Caleb Corrill, the offensive coordinator and quarterbacks coach at St. Thomas University. Coach Corrill is heading into his first season with the Tommies in 2024. Before his current stint, he spent 6 seasons as the offensive coordinator at Mount St. Joseph's University in Cincinnati, Ohio. In 2023, the Lions had one of the top Division III offenses, averaging about 550 yards per game and about 55 points per game. Coach Corrill and we spoke about namely the importance of continuous learning, seeking feedback, and maintaining humility and passion in coaching. So let's dive right into the content, and I hope you enjoy.
And the son of a high school football coach, so kind of grew up in this profession, if you will, grew up on the sidelines and really idolized my dad getting to be a ball coach and went to all those games. And I got a teaching degree in college thinking that I would follow in his footsteps and be a high school coach and all that type of stuff. And as I was coming out and trying to find my way, he really challenged me to broaden my horizons and challenge myself. And with that came, I took a chance at about 25 years old to go over to Mount, the Mount, and started as a assistant to the quarterbacks coach. Made no money, and got into the grind of college football. Fell in love with it immediately. Fell in love with the recruiting. Had some good, nice success in the recruiting aspect of it. And then 2 years later, I was made a full-time coach, offensive coordinator at 27, and then had to learn on the fly to kind of figure out how this thing works and, figure out how to implement a system and get guys in there that can run it. And so it was happenstance that it occurred the way that it did. But now I'm obsessed with it and it's what I do. And I couldn't see it working out any other way.
Yeah, so tell me what that was like, just getting thrown in a fire at 27.
It's, I think being the son of a coach, I think I know what good football looks like and what bad football looks like. So I was aware that I didn't know, but even with that in your mind, you have no idea the responsibility and the things that come along with being in a position of leadership like that. And so it was honestly really good because a lot of people will ask, what do they have to do to prepare for it? And obviously there's things that you need to, to work on and be aware of. But, it was just learning on the fly. I was one of the older guys on the staff at 27 with minimal experience. So I had to teach a lot of, football things to myself, figure out how to communicate with the players, which wasn't as much of an issue for me, but it was more so like instructing other coaches, other grown men of how you want it run. And when things aren't going well, which, when you're a young guy and you don't know as much, that's a little bit intimidating. So it was the best thing for me to be able to take. And in the first year, we had a successful year, but took a couple, hard losses. And those are the things that really taught me along the way of just like, okay, this is what the top teams on our schedule look like. This is how they operate. And it really just inspired me to really, dive deep and look inside of what I need to do to get better. And then, start communicating with other coaches outside of our program about, what things I needed to add to my repertoire to ultimately be one of the more successful teams in our conference.
Today's podcast is brought to you by CoachTools, the football player grading tool for coaches that's better and faster. Learn how to save time and increase your efficiency as a football coach at CoachToolsLLC.com. Yeah, and that's one of the main things that I've always learned is that no matter what, you're going to learn more from your failures than you do your successes. And
Yep.
you almost like a rite of passage, you have to go through that because, no matter what, you're gonna look back on those failures and you're gonna take those experiences. And now, next time you face something like that, when you're a little bit older, a little bit more experienced, you're gonna know, hey, This didn't work beforehand, and this is what I'm going to do to make that work the next time.
No, I agree with that completely. And I can think of two distinct times in my time at the Mount as a coordinator where failure is what inspired some of the greatest change. In 2019, we were off to a great start, started 6-0. We were creeping up on that top 25, scoring a bunch of points. We finished the season 1-3, finished on a dud, scored like 9 points in our last game, and it really opened my eyes to really work on myself. And then in 2021, lost our quarterback, finished the year 6-4, played in the conference championship, but got beat by like 40 points on the road. Really embarrassing moment, and that was another thing that just really inspired. Really just for me to go back, back to work and really hold myself accountable, take extreme ownership of the situation, and those two specific things both resulted in positive upswings in inspired change that needed to happen. I had to be honest with myself, and a lot of those self talks that you have are some of the most important that you'll do in your life, just to be like, hey, you're not good enough right now, and you can complain about it, but nobody's feeling sorry for you, so you're gonna have to go
Yeah.
figure this thing out. And that's I can those are two distinct moments in my career that really helped me along the way. They were painful, but like you said, I look back at them now, and those are that's those were so instrumental in the development that we've had. And that's a hard thing too when you're a young guy, where you're inexperienced, you think you know everything, and you have kind of a bravado about yourself. I think it's important to have confidence, but one of the things I pride myself on is being a continuous learner. I'm genuinely curious to learn what I don't know. And I think early in my career, I was more guarded against that. Like I didn't want to know my shortcomings because I didn't want people to exploit them when it came to, the football side of things. But now it's like on a week to week basis, I'll ask anybody in our program like, hey, what do we do well and what do we not do well? And usually I try to, with anyone that knows me or has some type of experience with me, I'll ask them the same two questions, like what's something that I do really well and what's something that I need to change in order to reach my fullest potential. And I'm 34 right now, but I'm telling you, 27, that's hard to do. And that's just something that you have to learn through experience. And I'm certainly confident in the product that we've built, but it's we're right back at it trying to do better than we did last year, which it's going to be difficult to do, but that's the fun of all this.
Yeah. No, 100%. So can you tell me more about Mount St. Joseph's?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's a really unique setup just because we're in a big city of Cincinnati. Cincinnati's had a lot of great publicity. There's a lot of jobs. It's becoming a young professional city. Really affordable housing and things like that. And what that translates to is obviously in Division III, there's a lot of programs in smaller towns and more rural areas, which we always tell people like that doesn't make it a negative because some people seek that out. But we literally are 10 minutes from downtown Cincinnati, which helps with internships, which helps with co-ops, helps with student experience. We're a small private school, but what we like to tell guys is that there's an opportunity to have that small college feel, those small class sizes, the ability to play football, but also to just make the experience whatever you want it to be, just with the location and where we're at. And I think that if you come to Mount St. Joe, um, I think we have really really good facilities. We've recently, within the last couple of years, have had a 50-yard indoor built. So we've got an indoor
Wow.
facility. The administration's done a great job of helping um, build up our coaching staff and put people in place. And I think all those things go hand in hand to the success we're having on the field, but also within the program, we have to me, one of the best head coaches. I mean, at this level, he's my age. He's got like a 82%, win percentage. And, our academics are as high as they've been since we've, been around this program, along with a lot of football success that hasn't really occurred since, 2009. So, it takes all hands on deck, obviously, to get an institution, a university, and a program to be successful. But I definitely think when you kind of start pairing all those things together, that's where a lot of that success derives from. It's not necessarily one person or one thing, but it's a collective effort, and that's what I like about Mount St. Joseph overall. Is just it's a great spot, it's a great setup, location's awesome, but the people there, obviously, that's what makes corporations, institutions, teams go is the people. And I just think there's a lot of really good people there. And I think that also shows with the kids that are in our program right now. Some high quality individuals that love football. You know how it is being a D3 guy, you got to love it, but also good students, highly coachable. And that's kind of where that success is coming from.
Yeah, no, I love it. I'm a huge proponent of D3 football. For guys who follow the podcast, I went to Gettysburg College, so love always want to support my guys, Division 3 guys. And to wrap things up, coach, so you've been in the profession for just about 10 years now.
Mhm.
If you had to boil down 3 values that you've learned over your career, what would those pieces of advice be?
Well, sort of touched on it, and I think you got to be humble in this profession because the moment you're not, it'll humble you. And I think being humble means not being meek and mild, but being willing to learn, like you said, willing to fail, willing to put yourself out there. I think that's crucial in this because the sport of football, like you said, sometimes your best is not enough. So I think that making sure you're a willing participant in learning and bettering yourself is critical. I'm a huge believer, and I believe this Division 3 sports represents this, especially Division 3 football. But you got to have a passion, um, obviously, for the game, because the game will expose you if you don't have that passion. But it's a passion for relationships, passion for developing people. And I always tell guys in our program, passion's something, it's not something that you tell somebody you have. You should feel passion coming off people. Like I feel the moment we stepped on, we were off camera, I could just feel your passion of like as a podcaster for D3 football, you could just sense it. You know what I mean? To me, that's what passion is just a true inner belief that you can't even really explain, to go and do your best at what you're doing. And then the last one is one that my dad taught me a long time ago when I played for him. It's the simple phrase of competing. Right? He always would say, "Just compete." And what that means in our program is that internal drive, every single day, every single rep, to do as much as you can to win that particular rep. And a rep could be in the classroom, a rep could be on the football field, a rep could be in your personal life, but just a willingness to be a fierce competitor. You're not always going to win, as we stated before, but that willingness to show up every single day and just absolutely compete for coaches in this industry. Obviously, guys at our level, you're not doing it for money or fame or anything like that, but you gotta, you should be a passionate competitor, of developing young men, obviously on Saturdays, but of just, allowing people to be, helping people to become the best versions of themselves. So those would be the 3 things to me that have helped me along the way. And anytime I get in a rut, I'll usually check myself and, hey, are you willing to learn? You know what I mean? What's your passion level? Which should never, I always tell people if my passion level drops, I'll get out of it. But the passion should be seeping out of you. And then I think just the of being a fierce competitor in all that you do, trying to get 1% better each and every rep that you take will ultimately put you in a position to where, you've built up the experience and the life lessons you need to come out on the right side of things.
Definitely. I think you hit the nail on the head there, coach. So greatly appreciate you being on the podcast today. Best of luck as you guys are on the recruiting trail, and thanks again for being on today.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.